Greetings, Culturians, and welcome back to the channel. Now, this isn't the first Super Bowl conversation that I've had with you, not by a long shot, and it won't be the last one even this weekend as we get closer and closer to the game. But what I will say is that it's pretty wild out there, pretty wild indeed. We've got some claims about the league being terrified about the ratings, and that they might not be very good. There's several factors that play into that, not just obviously the halftime show, which we'll talk about more probably either later tonight or tomorrow. But we have to talk about the fact that the game itself just may not draw. And we'll take a look at all the reasons why. So here we go. Now, before we get started, just a real quick reminder, I'm trying to get to 50K. We are quickly coming up on that, thanks to you. But if you double check down there to make sure you're still subscribed, whether you're here for the first time or the 1000th time, make sure that that button is not red. Turn it to gray. It says subscribe, and you've hit the little silver notifications button and turned on all notifications. That way you don't miss anything, because I would hate for you to miss anything. We do dozens of pieces of entertainment and news information every single week, and I also do community posts and things like that. I don't want you to miss them. So just double check and then hit the thumbs up button, because it just makes sense. You're down there anyway. Let's jump first onto the first story. Coming to us from College Football Network, Donald Trump supporter claims NFL worried over Bad Bunny Super Bowl LX halftime show. Why? Well, the Super Bowl halftime show for something that's called Super Bowl LX should be extra big. At least, an extra large size shirt. And it's not. It's a lot of small shirts that have regional appeal as far as the people that are involved. And as we'll get into it here in a few moments, we're going to find that there isn't the broadest possible appeal here. There might be an international appeal here. Maybe that's why some choices were made, but that's not enough. So let's take a look at what is enough. Bad Bunny being the headliner for the Super Bowl halftime show has created controversies which were never seen before. There's no denying that he is one of the biggest artists in the world right now. Bad Bunny has millions of followers and monthly listeners. He recently won a Grammy for the album of the year, and he has toured across the world with his music, just not here in the States. But still, there's something that divides the room when he is the topic of the discussion. No kidding. In fact, he's probably one of the most divisive artists out there right now. And this is following shortly on the heels of a recent Grammys where he won 3 Grammy Awards. Of course, everybody at the Grammys was misbehaving in a political way, but this guy just is always antagonizing anybody who's not actually in his audience.
I'm gonna say eyes out.
That's not good. The Puerto Rican rapper and singer's entire discography is primarily in Spanish. Most of the American audience that watches the Super Bowl doesn't understand Spanish, so there's bound to be a disconnect.
Dance. I know that I told them that they had 4 months to learn Spanish. They don't even have to learn Spanish. They just... It's better if they learn to dance.
However, as per Nick Adams, an ardent supporter of Donald Trump, the NFL is getting more worried about Bad Bunny and giving him the biggest stage in American sports. Adams believes that the NFL is freaking out, and I would have to agree with them. They are. He says specifically in his tweet, the NFL is very worried. Executives and sponsors are freaking out about the lack of interest in Bad Bunny. Typically, the halftime show is the most watched part of the Super Bowl. It won't be this year, he wrote on X. And he's right, it won't be. And that'll be all right. The game was going to be a down game anyway, and we'll talk about why in just a few moments, so don't go anywhere. But the Super Bowl is the biggest event in the country, and almost every year, they break their own viewership record. They won't this year. One of the main reasons why people who don't watch football tune in for the Super Bowl is the halftime show. Of course, a lot of people tune in for the ads, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. This year, as per Adams, fans aren't interested because the halftime show isn't going to feature an artist that they like or the music that they listen to. These are all claims, and there's no way to verify them until the event actually happens and the ratings come out. Adams also claimed that Kid Rock, an artist from Michigan who is putting up his own alternative halftime show is going to drive the audience away from the NFL. That's not surprising. It probably will. There is going to be a large pocket of viewers that may skip the game entirely and yet go and find and watch something on the variety of platforms it's available on. And the number of places you're going to be able to watch that show, the alternative halftime show, you're going to be surprised by. We're going to look at that list. But Kid Rock's alternative Bad Bunny Super Bowl show is obviously Turning Point USA's All-American halftime show. And it's set to air at the same exact time, approximately 8 p.m. Eastern. Fans can watch the show on Turning Point USA's YouTube, X, Rumble, social media pages, as well as the Daily Wire, The Real America's Voice, TBN, Charge, National News Desk, NTD, and OAN News. And believe it or not, several cable systems may be offering access to this particular show. And the list continues to grow. So if I were the NFL, I would be worried. The show will feature Kid Rock, Brantley Gilbert, Lee Brice, and Gabby Barrett. During a recent appearance on Fox News, Rock said that the alternative halftime show isn't being done with any ill intention, and it's not really being done to thumb a finger or a nose or throw a finger at the NFL, saying specifically, "I think I speak for Turning Point and all the artists involved that none of us are approaching this with any hate in our hearts. Just a love for our bass, a love for music, our country, and everything else." That's a pretty solid statement, if you ask me, and one that kind of defines why people are turning away from things like the NFL and their halftime show, and maybe even from some commercials. Although we've had a return of wholesomeness in Super Bowl ads this year, and if you haven't already watched, most of those ads are already released on YouTube because they know where their bread is buttered. And those millions of dollars get you additional views for your products or your services or anything else under the sun that you could advertise. According to Benny Johnson, if the NFL really were all about its stated goals and really wanted to take care of their fan base, there's a band that checks every single box from San Francisco by the name of Metallica. That's actually quite true. Well done, and looks like he was having fun on that interview. Suffice it to say, there's a large section of people within the country who will feel underserved with Bad Bunny's Super Bowl halftime show. And this is an attempt to make sure that they are entertained on Sunday as well. Now, this story goes on, but it only gets at one small element or one small part of what's really happening with this particular Super Bowl and why the ratings will be down. Sports Illustrated did this article here that is available for everybody to look at that says why Super Bowl ratings will be down this year, trying to get in front of what's about to happen. You see, the Chiefs' absence and the lack of superstars and access to the game will prohibit Patriots Seahawks from setting a record, and that'll leave Fox breathing a sigh of relief. Last year's Super Bowl between the Eagles and the Chiefs drew 127.7 million viewers for Fox. It set a new record for the most watched telecast in television history. My guess is that NBC won't come close to topping this on Sunday, despite Nielsen using new viewership measurements that has seen big increases across the board for most sporting and live events in recent months. In fact, you'd say that there's artificial gains that they're able to track now that were always there, but nobody could see. And a lot of that's out of home viewing. For one reason, last year's Super Bowl aired on Fox's free streaming service, Tubi. This year's Super Bowl will air on Peacock, which is a paid service. Tubi has 97 million active users, while Peacock has only 44 million subscribers. Another big reason why this Super Bowl won't be watched by as many people as last year's is because of who is here and who isn't here. And of course, that makes all the difference. Travis Kelce's fiance, otherwise known as Taylor Swift, or one of the dragons for the Mean Queen, is not part of this Super Bowl. That eliminates a large portion of people who watched last year's Super Bowl despite not caring even one bit about football. Patrick Mahomes has also reached that level where non-NFL fans will tune in just to see him play. Sam Darnold and Drake May will not bring in one of those fans. In fact, they probably don't know who either of those boys are. Darnold is a great story. Jackson Smith is unbelievable unbelievably fun to watch, and Mike Vrabel has done an amazing job. But this Super Bowl lacks superstars and personalities. There's nothing for their fringe fan. And that's very true. Consider both locations of these teams. Now, the two teams themselves are not located in an area where you're going to pull a bunch of fans from. And while the Patriots are still a pretty widely appreciated team, the Seahawks haven't been able to reach the stratosphere as they did many moons ago under Wilson's leadership. In fact, I will say this is not the two teams that you want in the Super Bowl if you're the commissioner of the NFL. And set aside the choice for Jay-Z's company, Rock Nation, to do the Super Bowl. And I promise you, Roger Goodell's got a lot of things that he's regretting right now. This isn't doom and gloom, though. The game will draw more than 100 million viewers, and it will be most watched telecast of 2026. NBC will be more than happy when the ratings come out, but Fox doesn't have to worry about its record being broken this year. In fact, a lot of other folks have talked about the fact that this just isn't the Super Bowl anybody's going to be, considering a not miss game. And that's kind of what the Super Bowl is supposed to be, the can't miss game of the year. But let's take another shot at it and figure out what may or may not be the primary reason for the falling viewership. It's a Super Bowl halftime show. Travis Scott, The Weeknd's K-pop, is getting sound-checked ahead of the Los Angeles halftime show, sets fans abuzz because, hey, they have to practice in the place that they're going to perform. Guess what the fans said? This song sucks. That's not high praise that you would expect for the halftime show. If they actually move forward with this song as part of the selections, it doesn't sound like it'll be well received. And the preparations for the Super Bowl at Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara seem to be in full swing. So they're definitely practicing and sound checking their sound in that location with the three artists there, and the primary artist that's featured being the Puerto Rican singer Bad Bunny. With less than 48 hours to go for the event, Kuroko posted a clip of Travis Scott, The Weeknd, and Bad Bunny's song K-pop playing in the stadium, which made fans speculate that it's one of the songs that Bad Bunny might perform. K-pop is the most popular song from Travis Scott's critically acclaimed album Utopia and has more than 375 million streams on Spotify. However, some fans aren't feeling if this song may set the right vibe for the event. Some fans took to X to express their resentment, and here's what they had to say. One fan wrote, "I would be happy to see both my GOATs, Travis and Abel, perform, but that song just wasn't it." It's not a good sign. Another fan remarked saying, "I love them all as artists, but this song sucks." Another one says, "Worst song on Utopia, by the way." And finally, another fan with, "Man, please no, ain't no one tried to hear that duty. Keep it Puerto Rico if you're going to go with Bad Bunny." This fan said, "This terrible A song. That doesn't sound good, does it? That's not the way you want to hear things." And look, nobody had the highest of expectations here. It's a regional artist, for goodness sake. It's just you're putting three regional artists of a very specific taste in music, and you've got maybe not the broadest possible appeal. And while the sound checks may indicate some part of the catalog that they intend to perform, it's not always the way it is. And while there may have been some speculation that the artist known as Drake might be performing with Bad Bunny, that has been put to rest recently, as a reporter at the U.S. Sun has stated that Drake has reportedly denied the opportunity to perform alongside Bad Bunny at the halftime show. And you know what? I don't blame him. It might be a bad look indeed. And it seems like Drake is allergic to any bad press. So maybe that's his motivation. Or maybe he just wanted the spotlight on Bad Bunny. We're at the end of an era of the must-see game. Or maybe we're just at the end of the era of Rock Nation running the Super Bowl halftime show for the NFL. And regardless what any contract says on paper, if I were Roger Goodell, I'd be looking to bail out here, because these numbers are going to be down in a way that nobody is prepared for, and the advertisers might be a little more than frustrated. But hey, since this is all speculation, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Do you think we're likely to see a Super Bowl with fewer viewers watching the actual game, let alone the halftime show? Do you think that TPUSA's halftime extravaganza will have an impact on the viewership for the regular halftime show, or do you think that will be minimal as well? And finally, do you think that the hate that Bad Bunny's getting is deserved or no? Your comments are as good as mine, so let me know your thoughts in the comments section below. And don't forget, watch another video on my channel right after this one to make sure you don't get unsubscribed. As always, be sure to take care of yourself, take care of others, and until next time, see ya. Just not watching the Super Bowl. Not this year.